Hey, thanks for checking out this video from Music Guy Online. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to create a website from the ground up for your music very simply, very quickly, and without spending a lot of money. And it doesn't matter if you've ever done this before, if you know anything about coding or not, it really doesn't matter because we're going to be using a very simple and intuitive software called WordPress to run our website. But I'm getting a little ahead of ourselves here. This is a 7-step process. It's going to take about 15 minutes, and there may be a couple of points which seem a little bit technical, but if you just follow along with the steps of this video, I promise you'll be fine and good to go. All right, so step 1 is actually getting your domain name. This is the actual web address which people will type in to get to our website. Now, there are a number of different domain registrars out there. These are companies which you use to register your domain. And for registering a domain and hosting a domain, I have a number of services which I recommend. I have affiliate links to them in the description of this video you can check out. I mention their affiliate links because I've been using them for the better part of a decade. I swear by them and just wanted to mention that. So, step 1, domain registration. I recommend Namecheap or GoDaddy. You've probably heard of GoDaddy. Maybe you haven't heard of Namecheap. I like Namecheap in particular because, as the name suggests, it's a little bit cheaper and they give you a lot of nice features with every domain for free. So it's just a nice bonus. So first things first, we're going to come down to this search domain bar right here, and we're going to search for the domain that we might want for our music. So whatever the name of your music, your project, whatever you're releasing your music under is what you're going to probably want to go with. I'm going to say, for example's sake, let's just say music site example 1. And then you want to type in the extension that you want as well. There's a lot of extensions. You've seen .nets, .orgs. There's even like .band or .music, which might seem, very apt, but I recommend the .com because of the sort of professionalism and familiarity associated with it. So go ahead and do a search for it. Hopefully it'll be available. Shocker, music site example 1 is available, and $8.88 a year is not a bad price. Generally, you're averaging around maybe $10 a year for a .com. And again, this is the yearly registration fee, which we will have to pay to keep that domain name in our names. So you can go ahead and go through the motions, add it to the cart, and it's pretty straightforward. Once you've purchased that URL, then we move on to step 2, which is getting hosting for that website. And once we have our domain URL, the hosting is basically where we're housing the sites, where we're building the site from. And when we're looking for a hosting provider, we're looking at 2 things. 1, we want to make sure that our website is up 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And for the cheaper hosting providers out there, you're typically paying for that lack of quality. So, if you're paying the bottom bargain bin prices, there's odds are that your website is going to be down for stretches here and there because their services just aren't that good, which means people can't access your site, which means it's costing you fans, exposure, even money. So it's not a place where you want to skimp necessarily. And number 2, you want very responsive customer support in case anything ever does happen. So I love HostGator. I recommend them above all others. I also like CrocWeb, but HostGator especially. You see they have 24 hours a day, 365 days a year live chat support. They are fantastic, and at the lowest tier price, which is really all you need if you just have one website, it's $2.75 a month. Again, that is everything you need. And so if you add those 2 together, you're looking at per year about maybe $40 for the domain registration and the monthly hosting service. As that adds up to a year, it's about $30 a year for that. So all total, about $40 a year to have that website in your name and up and running around the clock. So not too shabby. And so once you go ahead and you set up your hosting account, they're going to email you with a few basics, including how to access your cPanel, which is just basically the software to make changes behind the scenes to your website, which we'll get into in just a second. And that leads us into step number 3, which is connecting that website to that hosting account. So I'm going to go back to Namecheap for just a second. Let's just say, for argument's sake, that I went ahead and I registered my domain with Namecheap. I'm working with the band Relative Youth right here with their URL. And when you come into the domain list, and you're going to select your domain that you want to change, and you're going to see down here for name servers, it's going to be defaulting on their Namecheap basic DNS, because they have their own hosting, which you can pay for as well. I've never used it, I can't speak for or against it, but it's just something to be aware of. If you want to use a different hosting provider like HostGator or something, then all you need to do is click Custom DNS, and it gives you 2 fields to populate here, and that welcome email that HostGator sent you is going to have the name servers right in there for you to copy and paste in these 2 slots. And this is just telling Namecheap that you have HostGator hosting or whatever hosting you have, and Namecheap says okay, so they go ahead and make that connection. All right, so that leads us into step 4, which is adding that domain to your hosting account. So just like we connected our hosting with our domain in this step, now we need to do it on the other end, on our hosting. And we're going to go down in our cPanel, and they give you a link in that welcome email as well to access your cPanel. You might want to make a bookmark in your web browser so you can easily access it. And you'll scroll down to domains, and you'll click add-on domains, and this will open this tab right here for add-on domains. And here you're just going to go ahead and click on the new domain name field, and you're just going to type in verbatim whatever website you had. So I type in relativeyouth.com here, and then click away, and that's just going to autofill these others. You'll just go ahead, click add domain, and what this is basically doing is adding this domain to the hosting account, and then you'll see what that does in just a second as we get into, I think that's step 6. But let's get into step 5 now, which is creating a database in cPanel. So we go back to cPanel, and we'll scroll down to databases, and we'll click MySQL databases, and I'm going to open this tab right here. And what this is doing is creating sort of an architecture for that software I mentioned earlier, WordPress, which is a content management system. It's creating an architecture for WordPress to build around. So we need to create sort of that empty sort of house that WordPress can populate in just a moment. So we go over here to create a new database, name it whatever you want. Just make sure you write it down somewhere. And you'll see right here, just make sure you include that prefix as well. It's going to be different for you, but so the database name is whatever that prefix is, underscore, and then whatever you named it. Scroll down a bit further, and then create a username for it. Doesn't matter, again, whatever you want to name it. And then create a password for that user as well. And this is just the user that WordPress is going to be using, and to basically just do everything it needs to do within that database. We just only have to do this once. Create that user. You can use the password generator if you want a nice strong password, but just make sure you write it down, the username and the password. You'll create that user. And then lastly, we'll add that user, which we just created, to that database, which we just created. So just make sure you've now written down the name of your database, the name of your user, and your password associated with that user to access that database. And when you add that user to the database, just make sure you just tick the box that says give it all privileges so that it can do whatever it needs to do within WordPress to go ahead and make the website and make changes to the website. So it seems very technical, this step, but really just, like I said, follow that step. All you're doing is creating that user that WordPress is going to run on to go ahead and do its thing, for lack of a better way of putting it. All right, getting into the home stretch here. Catch your breath. It's time to download WordPress and install it. WordPress is thankfully a free software, massively popular. You can see right here, powers over 35% of the web. You'll go to wordpress.org/download, and it's going to have a nice button for you to click right here. It's going to have whatever the latest version is of WordPress. For this video, it's 5.3.2. This is going to create a compressed folder on your desktop, which is going to save on your desktop. And then we just need to go back to cPanel one more time and then go up to File Manager. And you'll see right here we're going to navigate to our relativeuse.com website in our main hosting file manager right here, and whatever your domain name is going to be. But that's what we were doing in that step 4 when I added that domain to the hosting account. What all that did was basically create a folder right here on our hosting, which we can now open. And you see, I went ahead and I already uploaded that WordPress.5.3.2 compressed folder from my computer to just the root domain, just the empty domain here. You see these other 2 backups. You won't see these obviously on your site. These are just backups that I made from the actual Relative Use website. And so we're going to go ahead and extract that WordPress folder so it's not compressed anymore. Should just take a second. And once it's done, we're going to reload, and we have that WordPress folder. And then one last thing we're going to do is select everything that was in that WordPress folder. We're going to click Move here in the File Manager of cPanel, and we're going to go ahead and delete WordPress there, and we're going to move them back to sort of the root folder of the website so that when we go to relativeuse.com, it's going to have WordPress right there. So move everything. We can go back up one level. We're back in the top level of relativeuse.com. And we can go ahead and delete that WordPress folder now. And I can even delete the compressed WordPress folder as well. And now the last thing which we need to do is go to relativeuse.com. And WordPress is going to go through the motions for us and auto install. And we're going to click through the language that we want. It's going to tell us it needs information on the database. And this is what we did in step 5. And remember when I told you to write down your database name, your username, and your password? That's what goes here, here, and here. And you leave these 2 as is. So you just paste those in. And now WordPress will have everything it needs to create that website essentially, and it has complete access to everything it needs to do its job. And once that's submitted, I'm going to stop here, but once that's submitted, then you'll be in the basic control panel of WordPress itself. And that's in the next video. You can check that out and see just how easy it is to do everything in WordPress, to change the look of your site, to add new posts and pages and any kind of information you want, and just customize it any way you want. We'll cover that all in the next video. But for now, take a breath. You did a great job. You have a website. We registered that domain. We got a hosting service for that domain. We connected the 2. We added that domain to our hosting account. We went ahead and created a database in cPanel. We downloaded WordPress. We installed WordPress. And now we're good to go with this last step, which I will pick up with in the next video. The link for that next video of how to use WordPress is in the description of this video. Thank you ever so much for watching. Please subscribe to get more tip videos, and I'll see you next time.